Alright, it's been a little while since I've done an update or a video, and just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on about where we're at, kind of macro perspective on things from a spiritual, political perspective. And it seems like things are starting to, I didn't make any videos for a while because it's a little bit difficult to see exactly where the chips were going to lie and to get a complete picture of what things are going to look like going forward and what the world, what the new normal will be. Since that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And it seems like we definitely will have a new normal regarding COVID. And the question is, what is that? And what has happened with COVID and what has been exposed and what was its purpose and what does that mean going forward? And yeah, it's not that I need a tighter shirt. That's just not gonna work. There we go. Yeah, see, that sucks. It's not that we've got a complete picture right now, but I think enough things have been sort of cleared up that we can roughly get an idea of where we're at. As far as my understanding is that COVID essentially serves as a veil for the centralized power structure that is rapidly losing its grip on the average person, its ability to manipulate and control media, economies, financial system, etc. And so COVID fills the void, or kind of the function of the fear that system runs off of, and it is a pretty primal system that we've been using through most of civilization as far as centralized control and power, and basically the opacity of the government and the way that things work compared with what the average person sees and is aware of, because ignorance is very valuable in the old paradigm. If people wake up and see what's going on and are aware of the way that the world works, then they revolt, or they, get out the pitchforks and all that. They don't comply. So what's been happening over the past, you can't really pinpoint a starting point to something like this, but, progressively we get more and more, mostly thanks to the internet, the average person becomes a lot more informed. They become more aware of what's going on. They question things. And so, and especially when you have somebody like Donald Trump that's willing to push things to the limit and see what, expose things to a great deal, which is, why he got censored from Twitter and all of that. You don't, if people are just raving lunatics that have no idea what they're talking about, you don't censor them, you just ignore them and move on, and we all say, yeah, that was stupid, but you don't need to censor people and silence them and try and destroy their existence when what they're saying is has no fact behind it, So I think what happens, or what has happened, is that the public kind of consciousness has been sniffing too close to the machine, or the government oligarchy, or however you want to think of it. And so COVID fills that void of keeping people under some measure of control, at the risk of being blatantly full of shit, which the COVID narrative and the election narrative and the market narrative are all obviously bullshit. But yeah, at least the old powers need to have that construct of some legitimacy that people can hold on to. Otherwise, you're just going to have complete chaos in the streets. If what I had hoped would what I had hoped would happen, something along the lines of QAnon or military trials and all that, while it sounds nice romantically and might be my preferred outcome, this is a massive shift in consciousness, and it doesn't just happen overnight, and you have to slowly wade into that pool of awakening. And so I think that's what we have now. We have basically a situation where, a bifurcation of society, where we've gone in two different directions, and there's people that want to hold on to an older system and, are able to do so. With more and more diminishing returns to doing that, and then there's an option to, and this is not yet completely obvious, but I believe there is a giant void available to us right now as far as what we can do for someone that is not living based off of fear, and is not living with the need for some external control over ourselves, an authority figure. I think there's a window opening, or there is a window opening for opportunity for people that are willing to do that, slowly, excruciatingly slowly opening a window for that. And I think that will be an increasing trend as the COVID narrative begins to die, well-deserved death, as well as, the various horrible, absolutely horrible things that took place within the last year that were covered up or swept under the rug. As that stuff starts to come up and be more well known, the old narrative of the power structures that we have, or we used to have, will slowly begin to kind of fade and crumble, and this happens at the margins, just one person at a time that just gets fed up with it and is ready for something new. And the opportunity, I think, is for people, that are interested in being awake and taking control over themselves and having the strength and courage to do so, can go somewhere, Florida, or other less fascist areas, that you can be left to your own devices, and you're going to be living and existing under a system that does not rely on an authoritarian type control of what we've seen in the last year through most of the developed world. So yeah, that's a sign of, or that's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel as far as this disaster that we've been enduring. And that's a bit about what I'm planning to do personally as far as taking advantage of this opportunity that we have, and in terms of setting up something for meditation and assisting people in waking up in their journey to enlightenment, trademark. So yeah, that's, I guess, generally what I wanted to say was just that it's been a bit unclear as far as how I can move forward and how the world's moving forward. Over the past few months, I've been a bit behind the scenes, or just been a bit in hibernation mode. But now I feel confident enough to make the guess as to how things are going to roll out. And you can kind of see the diminishing energy or the diminishing appeal of the, crazy authoritarian government system that we saw in the last year, sort of a dying gasps of centralized power. And I think you can see that starting to wane, and people are just, the average person is just basically fed up with that. They don't need to be have Big Brother looking over their shoulder to see how many masks they're wearing, or have their passport checked at the door whenever they go in somewhere, and have the distance between two people measured to see. It's just it's just insane. But I think that paradigm was taken to its limit, as it had to be, to show people where we would have to go if we're continuing down this road of fear and control. And there's enough resistance to that, enough alternative to that, that I just don't see the energy being there to support that really much longer. I think it will slowly, over time. This is an enormous system that we've been employing for quite some time, so it will take a while for older interests to be replaced with somewhat newer, sort of decentralized, communal environments to be set up. That's sort of my long-term dream, is a spiritual community retreat type thing. Sky's the limit for it, and I've got to be patient and see which way that will turn as far as how to make that work. But yeah, I think the trend will be moving away from that sort of corporate 9-to-5-er thing, and people will have an opportunity to find their true interest and pursue something that is meaningful and significant to them, such as art or spirituality, or whatever it is that you want to do. And people have so much potential in them if they're given the opportunity, if the boot is removed off their neck a little bit. And that feels like what we've got here, a little bit of an easing or gradual easing of the pressure of centralized control, which the model that we've been living with for most of history, really. So that's pretty encouraging and a giant shift, and I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, so hopefully I'll have some more videos as I get rolling. I'm going to be moving the next couple weeks, so I'll probably be pretty quiet. But as always, if you have any questions about meditation or waking up or whatever, send them my way and I'll be happy to help.